Alright guys, we are taking a break from exhaust manifold stuff this week. I'm sure you're as pleased about that as I am. And what we're doing instead is focusing on making our own version of this, which is the Radiator Support. Now the reason that we've got to make our own version of this is kind of a stupid one, I'll be honest. I filmed a little thing the other day explaining that, so I'll play that now. Basically, we measured out this whole space here for how much space we've got for the intercooler. Now I knew the end tanks were going to be on the top and the bottom of this intercooler, because it just made it a lot easier than having them on the sides, because we need to get it basically from the bottom. The intercooler pipes are going to be coming out around down there somewhere, and it needs to go through here, so it made sense to have them on the top and the bottom instead of on the side like most people. Also, apparently that actually works out better for cooling in most situations, so it's kind of a win-win. But I sort of forgot that at some point. Like, even though obviously I got them to make the intercooler with like the end tanks going on the top and the bottom, it's all the right size, but it's not the right size to actually fit in this space with end tanks as well, because the end tanks on the top, it's gonna like slope up, but the highest point, the tallest bit, is gonna be, I think, about 60 or 70 mil, something like that. And then on the bottom, the tallest bits are gonna be about 55 mil. So if you offer this up, if I get that so there's like 70 mil gap or something on there, on the bottom we're kind of level with this radiator support here, and that's just the bottom of the intercooler is level with the bottom of that, which means when you then add on like the 55 mil or whatever for the end tank, it's going to be pretty fucking low. It's going to be really low. Bear in mind, this is like, it's not the lowest point of the car, but it's not a million miles off already. So I think what I'm going to do to help with that is make my own radiator support, so get rid of this plastic one, because that just gives me a bit more flexibility, a little bit more room, because I can get rid of some of this stuff. I mean, I can't get rid of it completely because the front bumper mounts onto here, so like the bonnet is still going to be at this sort of height regardless of what I do, so that's still going to be the sort of upper limit, but I can make it fit a bit better to what I need instead of this one. So that is why we need to make our own version. I've bought some 2mm steel, some 3mm steel, some tubes and some angled 3mm stuff, and we're going to try and put all that together somehow to make our own version of this. So this is going particularly badly, even by my standards, but after an embarrassingly long amount of time trying to figure out how I'm even going to start attacking this, this is what I've kind of got so far. We've got some 90-degree stuff there with a couple of washers welded onto the back of it, because this section here has like a ridge in it, which you can't see very well, but yeah, it's not flat, so that was a great start. Then we welded a straight bit on here. Originally, I wanted to like just cut this at 45 degrees and cut this at 45 degrees so that they would then make a 90-degree turn. But because this is angled off slightly, it's not straight down, because I need as much space as possible over here. And because of that, it just made it really awkward. No matter how many times I tried, I could never get it right, because it's so long, like it goes all the way over here. If you get a couple of degrees out here, it ends up miles off over here. So yeah, I've just finished tacking this in place, and then I'm going to go weld it all up properly. But yeah, this is the starting point at least. I know it's not great, and ideally you'd have like a tube bender and you'd just have a bend there instead of this. I'm going to cut these bottom bits off and sort all that out so it's not like a sharp edge sticking out or anything. But yeah, it's been a bit of a shit show so far, but whatever. Let's just weld all this up. I don't know if you can tell, but this is pretty fucking awkward because the thing is too long for my welding bench. Got a horrible feeling that it's just going to have like warped and changed shape, but we'll find out in a minute, I guess. Right, it kind of stayed in place well enough, so it'll fit still, didn't warp too much. The welding on this one went kind of okay. The welding on this one was an absolute nightmare for some reason. This section here it just kept blowing away and like disintegrating no matter what I did. I tried so many different things. In the end, I just grinded the whole thing back and then just laid a new bead there, but it looks kind of weird because it doesn't really like fit in with the rest of it. But whatever, it's on. It's solid enough. There's a tiny bit of flex just coming from these brackets. I think they're only 3mm thick. So I might just weld like a gusset in there or something, but to be honest, it'll be absolutely fine. We're still going to have to make like a top section and everything, and we still need to make some brackets coming off this to actually mount the radiator to. Plenty of stuff to be getting on with. Alright guys, slight change of plan. I know I lured you into this video by saying we weren't going to be doing any exhaust manifold stuff, because I'm sure you're as bored of that as I am. But unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to finish them off, like get the V-band on and finish off the external wastegate stuff for the other side. Because it's taken a lot longer than I thought to do this radiator support. So it's not a very efficient use of time, because I've got to send the exhaust manifolds off when they're done to get the Zircotec coating, and that takes about 10 or 11 days. So it kind of makes sense to get them finished now, send them off, and then while they're gone, while we can't do anything that relies on the turbos being in place basically, then we'll do like the radiator support and the fuel tank and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to quickly finish off, I say quickly, it's taken me fucking 2 days already just to weld a few bits up, but I'm going to quickly finish off this second exhaust manifold, get the V-band flange on, and get everything in its final position, raise it up a little bit like we did on the other side, so we've got a bit more ground clearance for the oil fittings, and then no more exhaust manifold stuff, hopefully. So yeah, let's get this done. Right, so this is where we're currently at on this side. I've cut the old exhaust manifold in half basically, welded a few pie cuts on to get things in the right angle, welded the V-band flange on, and now we're going to do the other part of the V-band flange. So this is the other half of it basically. I've already welded a few bits on, welded the flange on, also die grinded out the inside so it's a smoother transition, because like I said, it's not the same thickness as the rest of the pipe for some reason. And yeah, now we've just got to basically weld this bit onto there, so let's do that. That'll do for tacks. Clean her up. This is what you subscribed for, isn't it? Thrilling shots. I realise you're probably all really bored of seeing me do this. Think how I feel. If I've got to go through it, you've got to watch it, I'm afraid. I mean, that's not even true. I've spared you from a lot of the more tedious stuff. We've got hours and hours of just sort of test fitting stuff and trial and error. A lot of very boring stuff I try and edit out. So yeah, think yourselves lucky. This is the bane of my life. Trying to prop up things that don't want to be propped up. That's not going to stay there, is it? There we go, all done. Bit messy, but it's a hell of a lot better than my first few attempts on the other manifold. So I can't complain. Give you a tour of the bead. There we go. Still smoking hot right now. Don't know if that's even focused, but you get the idea. Overheated it a bit in a few places, but whatever. It is stuck on there, and that's what we want. Now everyone knows the last thing you've got to do to finish your weld off is take a picture for Instagram. Right, it's on the car, and as you can see, everything fits just as usual. Very tight up in this corner here, but yeah, it fits, and it's a bit higher than it was before. You're not going to be able to tell on camera really, but we have actually got some room. I'm going to change this fitting to match this one, obviously, but yeah, I got these because I thought they'd be a lot lower profile, and obviously ground clearance is an issue, so I thought that'd be a benefit. But to be honest, there's literally only like 2mm in it or something, and these ones flow better, and I'm kind of worried about oil backing up in the turbos, so yeah, it makes sense to just switch to these ones. So yeah, this is pretty much done, apart from we need to remake the external wastegate part now. I've got everything taped up. We're going to back purge it like a good boy, especially because there's a bit of a gap there, so it's definitely going to weld all the way through. That's all done. Not my best work, I'll be honest, but it should hopefully do. Let's go put it on the car, make sure everything fits. Right, everything's back on. You can see I put the turbos and the wastegates back on both sides, and we're looking good. We're looking good. I can send the manifolds off to get coated now with the Zircotec stuff, and then we can crack on with other things next week. But yeah, I'll just show you quickly as well the amount of ground clearance we've got, because it's very hard to get an idea of how low these actually are depending on like where the camera is sort of sitting. It makes it seem very different. So if we take a spirit level and we put it at one of the lowest points of the car, it's not the absolute lowest point, but it's very close, and we get this completely level, you can see we've actually got a fair bit of room before that would hit that. You know, I have to make it extremely unlevel before it would hit any of that stuff. So yeah, it's kind of deceiving. Like, it looks like we've got very little room, but there's actually a good sort of, I don't know, 30 or 40 mil or something like that. So yeah, it's not as bad as it looks, and we're going to have a skid plate under here as well, protecting it all, so it's not too bad. I'm fairly happy with how that's all turned out, and obviously now it's a lot easier. It's still a pain in the ass, to be honest, to get the V-band on, but it's easier than it would have been, because I think it would have been impossible to just bolt the turbo up. Like, you literally can't even reach some of those bolts now. So yeah, it's all turned out a lot better. The wastegate's in a slightly better position, and it's not really blocking the gearbox fill plug. So yeah, it's all turned out for the best. But I think that'll probably do for this video. I know we've not really got that much done. We've kind of taken a few steps backwards and ended up where we were about 2 weeks ago now. But yeah, now we're hopefully done with the exhaust manifold stuff, and we can move on to more interesting things next week, like the intercooler and finishing off the radiator support and all that stuff. So yeah, we'll get all that done next week. Well, we'll start on it at least, and I'll see you there.